Hello again, everybody. Hopefully my audio problem is fixed now, so I can start making more of these Santa Monica videos, because every day I seem to find quite a few things that interest me. First of all, there's actually a few corrections that I want to make to a couple of the other videos I made. The body did eventually have tape around, John's body did eventually have tape around it. So all the photos that we see where there is no tape and no blockage, apparently there was some kind of blockade around it eventually. So the pictures that we see might just be inside of those police lines. But then the question kind of begs, how did so many people get inside those lines? Unless there was an evacuation route that only could go that direction. But it was dragged from the library. The official story is that it was dragged from the library where there was blood. So there were pools of blood, though not very large, inside of the library. So that would explain the lack of blood next to the actual body outside of the school. The police were in the vicinity, of the body, just not directly next to it. So again, the pictures might just be too close that you can't see the police officers. But it was out without being covered by anything, by a body bag, by a sheet, by anything for a good amount of time. It could be minutes, it could be hours. I'm not exactly sure. There was actually no shotgun used. As of now, there is no evidence that any shotgun was used. So we're with the AR-15, which was only, a lot of people are saying, the non-active part of the gun. So just the replacement part, not the part that holds bullets. I can't remember what the two ends were called. I believe the other end was the receiver, which it was missing as far as we've seen. Maybe there was another gun that just hasn't been put out. But then, you know, it's kind of interesting because the handgun itself was they called it a relic type gun, which means that it was, they think, black powder, which is very, very old. Zawahiri did have mental health problems and was put on a 72-hour hold due to making pipe bombs and threatening staff and students at his alternative high school. So that's another thing I was inaccurate about. I said kind of, why didn't anyone do anything if this was boiling for so long, and this is why. They did actually do something about it. The radio station that Beth Topping works at, KCRW, is a college-based station. It is not a Los Angeles-based station, it's just a college station. Though in one of her interviews, I do see that there's a reference to the newscaster kind of says, oh, you do stuff like this. So I have an inkling that she is kind of used to being on the reporter end of things. I will be doing a breakdown of her interview in Joe Orchid's. I already kind of started looking through hers. I was just kind of waiting for more to break down her facial expressions, her eye movements, her mouth movements, her words, things like that, as well as Joe Orchid's. And the last thing is that the lack of emotion or expression that I saw on the police officers' faces are likely deliberate and due to their training. So what I'm seeing as a lack of chaos or emotion might actually be just them shutting down in order to stay professional. Alright, so those out of the way. There are a few other corrections. You can look in my comments and I might have already noticed. Otherwise, if I didn't, let me know and I will definitely change that. Okay, so we have here in this article, these are things that I found kind of interesting, is that in more than one case I found that people in his family, Chris and Rhonda, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, I believe it's Rhonda, never spoke of John, or rarely. So in this one we see, all I can think about are Rhonda's loving ways, said fellow waitress Nicole D., 30, tears in her eyes. She's playful and funny and always singing top 40 tunes. I never saw her cry. She never talked about her kids. And that's this article here. So I found that very interesting because even if you have kids that somewhat act out, I feel like most mothers tend to idealize or romanticize their children in the way that they behave. So, I mean, that's just kind of an odd thing to me. Maybe it isn't. Maybe she just didn't like to talk about her personal life. The second odd thing that I found with that along the same lines is in this video, we see Chris Zawahiri's friend. You have to go a little bit into the video. I believe it's probably about a minute in. So once you get about a minute into that video, you will see his friend Albert Ramos talking about Chris. And he says he didn't really talk about him that much, meaning John. So now we have two people who knew the mother and his brother, and both of them saying, yeah, that's strange, we never really heard much about them. And then the last odd thing I found along these same lines, this neighbor, De La Torre, he has been all over the news and maybe another one of the key people to look for, because he is just in almost every article and all over the news and in all kinds of interviews and everything. But he was a neighbor of Zawahiri, and he said that the gunman's father told him he was having problems 8 months ago. So, I mean, I found that just kind of odd, like, oh, okay, he was having problems, but that was 8 months ago? That just seems like a kind of odd fact, or maybe it just seems like it was put off for so long, or just an odd time frame. Something about it just seems off to me. So yeah, these are all the articles about that. I can link you guys to all of this. I'll just link you to this article right here. So then another really strange thing is that there have been 3 shootings in Santa Monica in 5 days. And the first, of course, is Zawahiri, the one that we're discussing in these videos. And then there was one on Sunday where a cyclist was shot. I don't know much about that case yet. I haven't looked too much into it. And then on Tuesday, 2 men were shot, what they said, at random. So basically, these men were just in an alley, and some man got out of his car and shot at them and then drove away and left 1 dead and 1 is still in the hospital. So I find this very interesting that Santa Monica is suddenly having this surge, or maybe just media coverage, extra media coverage. But also at the same time, it's very interesting that we have 2 men critically shot here, what seems to be at random. Oh, I'm sorry, one of them is not critically, but pretty close. And so this seems to be at random on Tuesday, and then we have 5, 1 including the gunman, no, I'm sorry, that would be 6. There were 6 victims. So, yeah, we have 5 not including this gunman, so that's only 3 more people, and this was also at random, and to me would seem like just as scary. So why is this shooting getting so much more attention than this one, when they both seem to have a little bit of the same, MO? It's just kind of at random, just kind of out of nowhere. Why did this happen? People that seem to have no motive behind it, and then it's just not nearly as publicized as the one on Friday, even though it was only 3 less people. These pictures I find very interesting. If you know about Photoshop, I would really like to hear from somebody who knows about Photoshop that can answer these questions for me. They have released 2 pictures that I've seen officially of John Zawahiri. One of them is this junior picture of him, where he seems to be 16, 17 years old, I'd say. Well, when you're a junior, yeah, so 16 or 17 years old. And then we have this one, where he's 23 years old. So, now if we look at these 2 pictures, nothing seems odd about them at first, other than, okay, yeah, this one is relatively older than this one.